your class. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Bo. Welcome again. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for very kindly joining. Of course, I think there was a small change in the schedule. His Grace Adi Gadadhar Prabhu was expected to serve. And I think Prabhuji also, it was just, he just forgot, but His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu is there at his place. So Prabhuji is serving His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu. So he just instructed me if I can serve this class. And the class that I was about to serve, that is on 24th, I think, or 26th, I'm not sure. That class will be served by His Grace Adi Gadadhar Prabhu. So those who have joined thinking it is Adi Gadadhar Prabhu, I'm very sorry if you all are disappointed to see my face. But Prabhuji will be serving on the 26th. Before we start, let us chant the Mangalacharan prayers. Seek auspiciousness from our spiritual superiors like Srila Prabhupada, and then get started. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. Once again, thank you so much, dear devotees, for very kindly joining. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I hope the screen is visible. This is a very beautiful Ashtakam that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has composed. As we see, the author is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The book name is Tavamrita Lahari, and the language is, of course, Sanskrit. And the name is Vrindavan Ashtakam, the glories of the land of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Ashtakam means 8, and Vrindavan means Vrindavan, of course. So Vrindavan Ashtakam, 8 verses glorifying the land of Vrindavan. And of course, as we've seen that in all Ashtakams, there are 8 verses, and the 9th verse is a Phalashruti. So if you scroll down, we will see the 9th verse is a Phalashruti, which means the benefit that we will get by chanting this Ashtakam. So let us chant and let us try to discuss something, just scratching the surface of what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given. Those who know, we all can chant along, and those who do not, we can see what the meter is. Na yoga siddhir na mamastu moksho vaikuntha loke pina parshvadattam prema pinasyad iti chetaram tu mamastu vrindavana eva vasah tarnam janoryatra vidhirya yache Sadbhakta Chudamaniruddhavopi Vikshvaiva Madhurya Dhuram Tadasmin Mamastu Vrindavana Eva Vasaha Kim te kritam hanta tapakshititi Gopyopi bhume stuvate smakirtim Yenaiva Krishnangripadankitasmin Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasaha Gopanganalam patataiva yatra Yasyam rasa purnatamattvamapa Yato raso vaisa iti shrutistan Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasaha Bhandira Govardhana Rasa Pithais Trisimakheyo Jana Panchakena Mite Vibhutvadamite Pichasmin Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasaha Yatradhipatyam Vrishabhanuputra Yeno dayet prema sukham jananam Yasmin mamamsha balavatyatosmin Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasaha Yasmin maharasa vilasa lila Na prapayam shrirapi satapobhi Tatro lasan manjuni kunja punje Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasaha Sadarurunyang kumukha vishankam Khelanti kunjanti pikalikira Shikhandino yatra natanti tasmin Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasaha Vrindavanasyaštakametadutchai Pathanti ye nischala buddhayeste Vrindavanashangri saroja sevam Sakshad labhante janushanta eva Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasa Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasa. Let us quickly read the translation. They're all only one line. Let me not have mystic powers, impersonal liberation, the Lord's association in Vaikuntha, or even pure love for him, if instead of them I may reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham. When Brahma and Uddhava, the crest jewels of devotees, saw the intense sweetness here, they begged to take birth here even as a blade of grass. For this reason, I pray to reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Here the gopis glorified the earth, saying, O earth, what austerities have you done so that your surface is now marked with Sri Krishna's footprints? May I reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham. May I reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham where, because the Vedas say, Raso Vai Saha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sweetness. Transcendental sweetness attained its highest perfection in the gopis' passionate love. Although only 5 yojanas in circumference, bounded by Bhandirvan, Govardhan Hill and the Rasa dance area, it is unlimited in transcendental opulence. May I reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Because Vrishabhanu's daughter is the queen, and because here the happiness of pure love of God arises, I yearn to live here. I pray, may I reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Even by performing many austerities, Goddess Lakshmi could not enter the great Rasa dance pastime here. May I reside in the splendidly beautiful groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. May I reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham, where the Ruru and Nyanku deer fearlessly play, the cuckoos, the bumblebees, and the parrots sing, and the peacocks dance. They who with great concentration read aloud this Vrindavanashtaka at the end of this life attain direct service to the lotus feet of Sri Vrindavan's master, that is Shri Radha Shyama Sundar. Sri Vrindavan Dhama ki Jai. This is a very beautiful Ashtakam, dear devotees, that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has gifted this world. Apart from the various Ashtakams that he has given in the form of Vrindadevi Ashtakam and Govardhan Ashtakam, this is one Ashtakam, that is Vrindavan Ashtakam. And it's no secret that the theme of this Ashtakam is Braj. It is Vrindavan Dham. We see in Vrindavan also, very famous, the Brajavasis, they very nicely chant, Braj tyaj ke main kahi nahi jao, Braj tyaj ke main kahi nahi jao, Braj tyaj ke main kahi nahi jao. Leaving Vrindavan, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to eternally reside in the land of Vrindavan. And this is not a foreign philosophy. This is a Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is one of the celebrated acharyas of our sampradaya who is stressing and hammering this point of developing this desire to live in the land of Braj, either physically or mentally. Invariably, we find for most of us, situations arise such that we may or may not be able to physically live in Vrindavan. But having said that, we always have the opportunity to mentally reside in the land of Vrindavan. No one stops us from mentally meditating and mentally living in the land of Vrindavan. I was recently in Columbus. In fact, yesterday I came, and the devotee, one of the temple council members, temple president, he's a disciple of Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So we were speaking, and he mentioned that, Prabhuji, I've been to Vrindavan only once. So I was surprised. So he said that, Prabhuji, I've been to Vrindavan once in 2004 when Maharaj took Yatra. That is the only time I've been to Vrindavan. After that, of course, I've been to Mayapur and Jagannath Puri, but somehow Vrindavan never materialized. But he said that, Prabhuji, when I was leaving Vrindavan, I asked Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj that I don't know when I will again come back. But if I have to ask you for an instruction, what will that instruction be? And Maharaj told this devotee, of course, I'm not taking names, but Maharaj told this devotee that now that you came to Vrindavan and saw all the places, Barsana, Raval, Nandagaon, Pili Poker, and so many wonderful, beautiful places. Always make sure every day, whenever you get time, you remember these places. Let this visit, your 2004 Kartik Yatra visit, let it be recorded in your heart. And even if you don't come, every single day, make sure that mentally close your eyes and visit each and every place that you went. So even though externally you're not coming, mentally you're there in the land of Vrindavan. And this gives us the same benefit of physical residing. So the point I'm trying to make is this is not a foreign philosophy. Sometimes it is said that, oh, you should not live in Vrindavan. And those devotees who try to speak of Vrindavan, they are kind of criticized, saying, this is Sahajiya. Sometimes if you talk about Vrindavan, people are a little critical and they say, oh, this is Sahajiya. But this is not Sahajiya. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur who is saying it. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. Aradhya Bhagavan Vrayeshatanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. Srinath Chakravarti Thakur in Sri Chaitanya Manjusha explains, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. Aradhya Bhagavan Vrayeshatanayas. Who is our worshipable Lord? It is Vrindavan Krishna. It is not Mathura Krishna. It is not Dwarka Krishna, but it is primarily Vrindavan Krishna. And what is the worshipable land? Tadhama Vrindavanam. Vrindavan is our worshipable land. And that land which is worshipable for Gaudiyas, how can we not visit it? Either physically or mentally. The same point is made by Srila Rup Goswami in Nectar of Instruction. Ishthan vrajeta danuragi jananugami kalam nayed akhilam iti upadesha saram. He says, Akhilam iti upadesha saram, the essence of all 11 instructions. Nectar of Instruction, the 11 verses, they are the crest jewel. of all the teachings of the Shastra. But in that also, if you have to look for the cherry, the cake, icing, then Tishtan Vraje Tad Anurag Jananugami. Srila Rup Goswami says, go to the land of Vrindavan and Tad Anuragi Jananugami. Try to follow in the mood of the Brajavasis. Kalam Nayed Akhilam Iti Upadesha Saram. This is the essence. It is the saram of all instructions. Who is saying this? Rup Goswami. What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying? Vrindavan. What is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur saying? Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasa. We take any acharya of our sampradaya. They have been fanatics for the land of Vrindavan. So this is Gaudiya mood. This is not foreign. Srila Prabhupada. Where did Prabhupada stay prior to coming to America? It was Vrindavan Dham, Radha Damodar Mandir. For 10 years, Prabhupada soaked in the mood of Braj. Even at the time of departure, 1977, Prabhupada comes to Gita Nagari. In fact, Prabhupada to London, and he was scheduled to come to Gita Nagari, 1977. He comes to London, he's scheduled to come to Gita Nagari, but Prabhupada's health deteriorates. And Prabhupada tells Tamal Krishna Maharaj, let's go to Vrindavan. May 1977. And for the next 6 months, from May 1977 till November 14th, 1977, Prabhupada does not leave Vrindavan Dham. So whether it is Prabhupada, whether it is Goswami, whether it is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, whether it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you name it, the whole sampradaya has been transcendentally attached to the land of Braj. And without this attachment to Vrindavan, it is very difficult to make any advancement. Or rather, advancement, attachment to Vrindavan is a symptom of someone who's advanced. If someone has taste, attachment to Braj, that is a symptom of someone who is advancing. Srila Rup Goswami explains in Nectar of Devotion, Priti tad vasati sthale. Nama gane sadaruchi priti tad vasati sthale. Attachment, priti, attachment to the Lord's pastime places, which is Vrindavan Dham, Navadvip Dham, Jagannath Puri. They're all not different. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Radharani and Krishna. Similarly, Vrindavan is not different from Navadvip Dham. Yatha yatha gaura padara vinde vindeta bhaktim krita punya rashi tatha tatha sarparudya kasmad radha padam boja sudambu rashi. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati in Sri Radharas Sudhanidhi explains, Yatha yatha gaura padara vinde, to the level one has attachment to the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To that level, waves of Radha Prem will rise in the heart. To the level one is attached to the lotus feet of Gauranga and Nityananda. Yatha yatha gaura padara vinde. To the level one is attached to the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Radha Padam Boj Sudamburashi. To that level, waves of Radha Prem will start rising in the heart. Attachment to Srimati Radharani. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are the door for all of us to enter into this beautiful dancing party of Shri Radharani and Krishna in the land of Vrindavan Dham. And we see that the Vrajavasis are so attached to this land of Vrindavan, never to leave the land of Vrindavan. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would explain a very sweet pastime. Once there was a devotee by the name Keshav, one name of the Supreme Lord, Keshav. He who killed Keshi demon got the name Keshav. So Gaur Govinda Maharaj explains there was once a devotee by the name Keshav, and he would always do Dandavat Parikrama of Govardhan. Dandavat Parikrama, not walking. He would do Dandavat. Now, just to give some statistical analysis, Govardhan Parikrama is 21 kilometers. 21 kilometers. So those in America, you can convert that to miles. I don't know how much miles it is. 21 kilometers. And now to do that walking is a big challenge. We do Half parikrama we do walking and remaining we do auto rickshaw, cycle rickshaw. To do Dandavat parikrama means offering full Dandavat, then getting up, and then again offering Dandavat, then again getting up and doing like that full 21 kilometers. That is Dandavat parikrama. We would have seen when we go to Vrindavan, we see so many Vrajavasis. Even sometimes small children, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, we will find. There was one video many years back. I remember I had seen one 6-year-old boy was doing Barsana Parikrama, Dandavat, 6 years old. And I was amazed, like what nishtha, what attachment towards Braj. So this devotee called as Kesha was always doing Dandavat Parikrama. So he got the name eventually as Dandavati Keshav. The Vrajavasi started addressing him as Dandavati Keshav. That Keshav who does Dandavat Giriraj Parikrama. So once he was doing Dandavat Parikrama, night time, and one sadhu came there. So that sadhu came and he asked Dandavati Keshav, can I also do Parikrama with you? Dandavat Parikrama, can I also do with you? So Dandavati Keshav said, yes, you can give me company and we both can do together. So they started doing Dandavat Parikrama together. And after some time, this sadhu, from behind, he picked up Dandavati Keshav and threw him ahead. He just threw him ahead. So it was very surprising. So this Dandavati Keshav, all of a sudden, he was relocated from one place to another. So he went ahead and then he again came back. And he didn't tell the sadhu anything because the sadhu Vaishnav is someone very exalted. So he didn't say anything. He again started doing Dandavat Parikrama. And this sadhu again came. And after some time, he did the same thing. He picked up Dandavati Keshav and again threw him farther. This time more farther than what was done earlier. Now this was too much. This was too much. First of all, doing Dandavat Parikrama in Vrindavan, in the hot sand, morning time or even night time, because you see, during the day, it gets so hot that even at night, the sand doesn't become cold very fast. It takes time to cool down. So already the sadhu is taking so much austerity, and now on top of that, he is getting the Mahaprasad of this sadhu by throwing him ahead. So now he came back and he told the sadhu that, why are you doing this? Maine aapka kya bigada hai? What wrong have I done? Let either you do Dandavat with me or you do somewhere separate. Why are you troubling me like this? So this sadhu, he said, what you are doing is very wrong. This is aparad. What you're doing is aparad. Dandavati Keshav said, aparad? I am doing Dandavat Parikrama of Govardhan, Girirajji, and what is the aparad? What is wrong in that? This sadhu, he said, the land is Bhumi Devi. And Bhumi Devi is the wife of the Supreme Lord. She is the wife of Varahadev. We see Varahadev picked up Mother Earth. So land is Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, Bhumi Devi. So you at night time are sleeping with the wife of the Supreme Lord. This is aparad. This is wrong. You shouldn't do this. And Dandavati Keshav was thinking, what logic is this? Everyone is doing Dandavat Parikrama and this sadhu is catching my neck. He is having problem with me. And externally, if you see, it makes sense because Mother Earth is Bhumi Devi, and at night time, the sadhu said, you are sleeping at night time with the wife of someone else. This is aparad. But Dandavati Keshav was also a recipient of the mercy of Girirajji. Girirajji gave some inspiration in his heart. And Dandavati Keshav looked at this sadhu and said, yes, that is wrong. That, what you mentioned, is wrong. But what if I consider Earth as Mother Earth? She is my mother. And is it wrong for a child to sleep on the lap of his mother and embrace the mother at night? Because Dandavat means almost embracing. For me, she is like my mother. And at night time, I'm sleeping on her lap and I'm embracing my mother. Is this wrong? Is it wrong for a child to sleep on the lap of his mother and embrace the child and embrace the mother? When the sadhu heard this, the sadhu, who was disguised, revealed himself, and it was the Supreme Lord Vrindavan Krishna. The Supreme Lord personally came to test Dandavati Keshav's attachment to Girirajji, attachment to Vrindavan Dham. But what to do? Krishna Bhakta Ei Bada Chatur. The devotees of the Lord are so intelligent that they sometimes defeat the Lord in debates. The Supreme Lord is so intelligent, he lost as far as debate is concerned, arguments are concerned with his own devotee. So the point I'm making, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj quotes this and he explains the attachment that the Brajvasis have for Vrindavan, for Govardhan. And we would have all seen in Vrindavan, we say that what time do we get up in the morning? 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, sometimes 6 o'clock, depending on what time we slept the previous day. But we see that the Brajavasis, they start doing Vrindavan Parikrama at about 2 in the morning. So even if you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they have already finished Vrindavan Parikrama. That is their level of advancement. Even if we are getting up at 4, they have already finished Vrindavan Parikrama, one round. Vrindavan Parikrama is 11 kilometers. So sometimes we get transcendentally proud of the fact that I'm getting up at 4 o'clock. But if we see the Brajavasis, their Vrindavan Parikrama is already done. So much attachment. And we find there are so many in Vrindavan who do Govardhan Parikrama every day. Every single day Govardhan Parikrama. Then there are those who do Govardhan Parikrama twice a day, morning, evening. So first category is they do morning Govardhan Parikrama. Second category, morning, evening. Third category, morning, afternoon, evening. 3 times a day. You will find Brajavasis like this also. 3 times a day they will do Govardhan Parikrama. So 21 multiplied by 3, that's about 63 kilometers, which is about 40 miles if you're in America. That's 40 miles of walking. That's a lot. That's a lot. And to do that every single day of their life, Ajivan. What can be more glorious than this? हम गिरिराज की परिक्रमा एक बार करते हैं और नानी याद आ जाती है. हम ऑटो लेते हैं, ये लेते हैं, वो लेते हैं और सबको जाके बोलेंगे, प्रभु जी आज हमने गोवर्धन परिक्रमा किया, आज हमने वृंदावन परिक्रमा किया. And then there are sadhus who do Braj Parikrama, Giriraj Parikrama, thrice a day. 40 miles of walking, 65 kilometers almost every single day. So Dandavati Keshav is a very nice example that is found in the Shastra. And for those devotees who have heard Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, will also hear this pastime in his classes. But sadly, we find, dear devotees, that this land of Vrindavan Dham, the Vrindavan that we love to go during Kartik, Vraj Parikrama, Vraj Yatras. So many of our ISKCON sannyasis, Prabhupada disciples, they take for Yatra. Like His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj, His Holiness Romapad Swami Maharaj, His Grace Dinabandhu Prabhu, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. They all take for very wonderful Braj Yatras. But if not for the 6 Goswamis, we will not have the Vrindavan that we have right now. Kalena Vrindavana Keli Vartam Lupte Tityam Kya Paitum Vishishya Kripamritena Abhishishya Devas Tatraiva Rupam Cha Sanatanam Cha. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he went to Vrindavan Dham and he asked the Brajavasis, Radhakund Kothai, where is Radhakund? And the Brajavasis were scratching their head. What do you mean by Radhakund? We are so familiar with Radhakund. Like, for example, if we meet a devotee and we say Radhakund, and if that devotee doesn't know Radhakund, we will be surprised. Hey, you don't know Radhakund? Imagine going to Vrindavan and the Brajavasi is not being aware of Radhakund. This is height. This is height. And it doesn't happen often. Perhaps it never happens. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 500 years back, when he went to Vrindavan, when he went to Radhakund, and he asked Radhakund Kothai, where is Radhakund? And the Brajavasis had no idea, absolutely. They had no idea. Why? Kalena Vrinda Vanakeli Vartam Lupte Titam. Lupta means lost. These places had become lost to the naked eye because Krishna performed them 5,000 years back. And when the waves of time arise, it just swept away all the places. And now they have been submerged completely. They were lost to the naked eye. So Lupta basically means lost. We see Brahmaji, he goes on a swan. His order carrier is a swan, which is called as a Hansa. He always goes on a swan. But nowadays, swan is not there. We have airplanes. In the earlier, in the previous generation, or during Brahmaji's time, he would go from one place to another sitting on a swan. But nowadays, swan is not there. It has become lost. The Hansa has become lost. And we find there's a famous German airline called as Lufthansa. It actually is Lupta Hansa, the lost swan of Brahmaji, because Brahmaji's swan flies. But that swan has been lost. And that is Lupta Hansa. But over a period of time, with a German touch, it is Lufthansa. But it's not Lufthansa. Shastra says it is Lupta Hansa, the lost swan of Brahmaji. And we find Lufthansa flights are white in color like the swan. So it is our Gaudi understanding. It is Brahmaji's airline, but it has become Lufthansa. So Lupta basically in Sanskrit means lost. So these pastime places of Braj, Kalena Vrinda Vanakeli Vartam, the Keli means pastimes. The Vrindavan Keli of Krishna became lost. And this is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. In fact, all the 6 Goswamis to rediscover Vrindavan Dham so that we can reap the benefit. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami come to Vrindavan, start establishing temples, write books, establish Vaishnava etiquettes, and most importantly, rediscover lost pastime places. All the places that we find in Braj, the credit goes to our 6 Goswamis, primarily headed by Srila Rupa Goswami. And one such very beautiful place in Vrindavan, which was lost completely, is called as Malihari Kunda. Those who have been for a Braj Parikrama would have seen Malihari Kunda. And it has a very sweet, interesting history. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami gives this history in his works. One time, Sri Krishna, this was after the Rasa dance has taken place and during the time of Diwali. In fact, on the day of Diwali, Krishna was there in Nandagaon, and his parrots, they came and they told Krishna that Krishna, Srimati Radharani is there in Govardhan along with all her friends. And Srimati Radharani, what is she doing? She is stringing pearls. Radhika is stringing pearls. So Krishna got to know, and Krishna with his two favorite cows. Krishna has 2 favorite cows. Of course, there are many, but 2 favorite, Harini and Hasini. Harini and Hasini, 2 favorite cows. And that's why many times we find, if you go to the house of devotees also, if they have Radha Krishna or even Gaurnita, they will keep small cows, 2 cows. And if you ask them, they will say that this cow is Harini and this is Hasini. Because Krishna's 2 favorite cows, our acharyas say, are Harini and Hasini. So Krishna takes both these cows and Krishna goes to Govardhan to see Srimati Radharani and the other Braja Gopis. And Krishna looks at Radharani and says, "Oh Radhe, can I have some pearls?" Krishna very innocently is asking, "Can I have some pearls?" And Radharani says, "Krishna, why do you want pearls?" Krishna says, "I want pearls because I also want to string pearls. I want to decorate my cows." And Lalita Sakhi comes ahead and she says, "Krishna, your cows are so great that these pearls are nothing in front of them." Sarcasm, sarcastic speech. Lalita Sakhi is very bold in her speech. She comes to Krishna and says, "Your cows are so great that these pearls, they don't mean anything. Your cows are very great." So Krishna says, "Give me some pearls. At least I will decorate their horns." They have small, small horns. I will at least decorate their horns with pearls. And Lalita Sakhi speaks heavily and boldly to Krishna. And Krishna is stung by the sharp response of Lalita Sakhi. Lalita Sakhi is very strong, by the way. Very strong. Our acharyas explain that once Radharani was waiting for Krishna. And as usual, Krishna came late. Our Krishna is always late. That is why you find there are two types of people in this world. One who come late and second who are on time. Krishna is always late and Radharani is always on time. So if we want to be on Radharani's side, we have to be on time. To be on time is to be on Radharani's side. I remember there's one devotee, one disciple of Srila Vaisheshika Prabhu. He was once very in a very casual way, he was saying, to be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. And to be late is unforgivable. To be early is on time. यदि हम कोई जगह जल्दी पहुंच गए, it is good. That means it is on time. To be early is on time. To be on time is to be late. And to be late, we cannot excuse it. So Krishna is always late. And Radharani is always on time. So poor Radharani, she always waits for Krishna. Very innocently, she's always waiting for Krishna. That's also a side point that every time wherever we are invited, any home programs, in any classes, you see the IST mentality is, अगर 5 बजे का class है, सब 6 बजे आएंगे. It is typical. India or America. Out of experience, I am saying this. 5 बजे का class है, सब 6 बजे आएंगे. You tell them 5, they will say, प्रभु जी, 5 है ना, 5 को कौन आता है प्रभु जी? आते आते सब 5:30 होगा, थोड़ा यहाँ वहाँ बात करेंगे. शुरू होते होते प्रभु जी 6 बज जाएगा. But to be late is Krishna's thing. To be on time is Radharani's thing. So if we want to be on side of Radharani, we should be on time. So Radharani was waiting for Krishna. And Krishna was late. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Krishna was late. And then finally Krishna comes as if nothing has happened. And while all this was going on, Lalita Sakhi teaches Radharani different frowning techniques. Frowning techniques यानी कैसे मुंह बनाना है. If Krishna comes, or Radhe, if Krishna comes, don't give him attention. If he comes from here, look there. If he comes from that side, look there. If he comes from there, look down. Don't give him attention. Because if you give him attention, next time also he will do the same thing. Don't give attention. So she teaches Radharani 100 different frowning techniques. कैसे मुंह बनाना है. 100 different frowning techniques. And she tells Radharani, Radhe, you understood it? Radharani says, yes, I understood it. When Krishna will come, I will follow. Now, after many hours, Krishna comes there. As if nothing has happened. Krishna comes. And Krishna looks at Radharani. And Krishna smiles. And as Krishna smiles, Radharani smiles. And she forgets everything. Whatever Lalita Sakhi taught her, Radharani forgets everything. And Lalita Sakhi looks at Radharani and says, Radhe, I took so much time to teach you, and one smile of Krishna, you forgot everything. What is this? Durte vrajendra tanaye tanushushtu vamyam ma dakshina bhavakalanki lagavaya Radhe girim shrunu hitam iti shikshayantim devim gunai sulalitam lalitam namami. Srila Rup Goswami in Lalitashtakam explains, he is explaining the mood of Lalita Sakhi. Durte Vrajendra Tanaye. How is Vrajendra Tanaye? How is Krishna? He is Durta. He is crooked. He stands crooked. He looks crooked. He speaks crooked. Nothing is straightforward. Standing is 3 bent. Looking is towards the side. Speaking, he will speak something. He will mean something. You see, Krishna says, Parokshavadam mama priyam. Krishna likes indirect speech. You see, people of this world also, sometimes they say something, but they will mean something else. So Krishna likes this. Parokshavadam mama priyam, Krishna says. So he looks crooked, he speaks crooked, he stands crooked. Everything is crooked. So how is Krishna? Durta. Durte Vrajendra Tanaye Tanushushtu Vamyam Ma Dakshina Bhava Kalankini Lagavaya. Lalita Sakhi is saying, Radhe Girim Shrunu Hitam Iti Shikshayantim. Oh Radhe, I am telling this for your own good. I am telling this for your own good, for your own benefit. Don't give him so much attention. If you give attention, he will come late and he will make you wait. Don't give so much attention. So Rup Goswami explains the mood of Lalita. She's very strong. She chastises Krishna also. And sometimes she can chastise even Radharani. Radharani sometimes is very innocent. Lalita Sakhi chastises and very innocent. Radhika is very innocent. That is why we find Radharani and Vishakha Sakhi have the same mood. Because both were born on the same day. The day we celebrate Radhashtami is also Vishakha Ashtami. They have the same mood, same thought process, same liking, same tendencies. This is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to understand the mood of Radharani, goes to Ramananda Rai, who is Vishakha Sakhi. Even though he is there in Jagannath Puri and Swarup Damodar Goswami is there, who is Swarup Damodar? Lalita Sakhi. Mahaprabhu doesn't hear from Swarup Damodar because Lalita Sakhi is a different mood in comparison to Radharani. But Mahaprabhu walks all the way to South India to hear from Ramananda Rai, who is Vishakha Sakhi. Why? Because Vishakha Sakhi and Radharani have the same mood. So it's easier for Mahaprabhu to understand Radha Bhav from the lips of Vishakha Sakhi. So Lalita is very strong. So back to our discussion. So Krishna asks for some pearls and Lalita Sakhi speaks some strong words and Krishna is embarrassed in front of his cow. So Krishna, very angrily, Krishna goes back and he tells Maya that, Maya, can I get some pearls? Maya says, Lala, why do you want pearls? You see in Vrindavan, they call Lala and Lali or Lalli. I remember when I met Dinabandhu Prabhu for the very first time in Vrindavan many years back. He looked at both brothers, myself and my brother Amarendra Prabhu, and he asked, Lala ka naam kya hai? And initially we couldn't follow because we didn't expect it from him. Because generally we will ask, what is your name? But like a Pakka Brajavasi, he asked, Lala ka naam kya hai? So remember, so in Braj Bhasha, for a boy it's Lala and girl Lali or Lalli. So Maya asked, Lala, why do you want pearls? What will you do with pearls? Krishna said, I will use those pearls. I will sow them in the ground and then we will have a pearl tree in our backyard. Maya Yashoda heard and she said, Krishna, it doesn't work this way. If it was so easy, Krishna, everyone will keep doing that and everyone will have a pearl tree in their backyard. Just imagine if it was so easy, no need of any job, no need of IT, medical, gas station. There's no need of anything. There's no need of anything. But sow the pearls and you get a pearl tree and lo and behold, you can live your life. But it doesn't work that way. So Maya tells Krishna that, Krishna, you sow a mango seed, you get a mango tree, but that doesn't mean you sow a pearl and you get a pearl tree. Krishna says, Maya, believe me, it is possible. If I will sow pearls, I can show you there will be a nice pearl tree. Maya understands that छोटा है, नादान है, ना समझ है. अब बोलने का तो कुछ फायदा है नहीं, ये तो सुनने वाला है नहीं. I tell him not to steal, he steals more. I tell him not to lie, he lies more. तो बोलने का तो कुछ फायदा है नहीं लाला को, ये तो करेगा ही. So then Maya decides to take some pearls and she gives it to Krishna. Krishna takes those pearls and he sows them in the backyard. And Krishna thinks to himself, when we sow seeds, we put water. But I will not put water. I am Krishna. I will do something special. He goes to the Braja Gopis to ask for milk. Because Krishna wants to nourish his pearls with milk. This is his planning. So the Gopis again don't give him milk and they just ridicule and they send Krishna back. So Krishna comes back and he takes the milk of Hasini and Harini and he milks them and he pours milk every single day with the desire that now there will be a pearl plant. अब वास्तव में तो ये होगा नहीं. There is no need of even trying. It will not work out. But when Krishna does it, miracles do take place. He is the Supreme Lord. He can ano aniyan mahato mahiyan. He can become smaller than the smallest, larger than the largest. He can make sand into ice, ice into sand, fire into water, water into fire. He can do whatever he wants. So he starts pouring milk every single day, very sincerely, very religiously. And Maya is laughing every single day. अरे कितना नादान है, कितना छोटा है, बच्चा है, समझ नहीं पाता कि लाला, it doesn't work this way. It doesn't work this way. But she doesn't say anything. But interestingly, Raghunath Das Goswami says, after a few days, it started sprouting. The pearls started sprouting. The seeds normally do. Pearls never do. But the pearls started sprouting. And in a few days, there was a nice pearl plant with every branch filled with big, big pearls. And Krishna looked at Maya Yashoda and called the Braja Gopis and said, Dekha, so this is my power. You didn't give me pearls. I asked you for milk. You didn't give me milk. Look what I have done. And Radharani came and she said, big deal. Even I can do it. You can do, even I can do. What's the big thing in that? Krishna said, Acha, show me. And Radharani can definitely do what Krishna does. Because we see Krishna made Shamkund. And Radharani did not hold back. She made Radhakund with no help from Krishna. So Krishna is challenging Radharani, but Krishna fails to understand what he can do. Radhika can do that 10 million times better. Krishna plays flute. Radharani can play the flute 10 million times better. Radharani has one name called as Vamshi Chorini Sri Radha. That Srimati Radharani who stole the flute of Krishna. Vamshi Chorini Sri Radha. Bhagavan ka Vamshi churati hai. As far as beauty is concerned, she's 10 million times more beautiful. As far as flute playing is concerned, she's 10 million times better. As far as dancing is concerned, she's 100 million times better. Radharani is better than Krishna in everything. Whatever Krishna does to attract the attention of Radhika, Radhika is better than Sri Krishna. So now Krishna is challenged Srimati Radharani, and Radharani, she goes to Govardhan and she takes some pearls along with all the other Braja Gopis and they sow the pearls. And now Radhika thinks to herself, Krishna used milk to nourish. I will use butter, one step higher. If he uses milk, I will use butter. And she gets butter from her home. She asks Vrishabhanu Maharaj and Kirtida Maya and she gets butter. And she starts putting butter every single day. Again, these stunts are performed by professionals. Please do not try it at home. It will not work out. These are performed by high-class professionals. So they start putting butter. And after a few days, it starts sprouting. And Radharani says, look, if Krishna can do, I can also do. It starts sprouting. But after a few more days, Vishaka Sakhi comes there. And she looks and she tells Radharani, oh Radhe, unfortunately seems like we have lost. It is sprouting, yes, but all that I can see is there are only weeds. It's not pearls. Pearls ka to namo nishan nahi hai. I cannot see pearls anywhere. Radhe, seems like we have lost to Krishna. There is nothing here. And Raghunath Das Goswami ends the story here. Now a question arises. Our Acharyas asked this question. Raghunath Das Goswami is eternally Radharani's servant as Rati Manjari. How can he describe a pastime where his mistress, his worshipable Radharani has lost to Krishna? How is he describing a pastime where Radhika has lost? Which means there is something more to this pastime. So when the Brajavasis researched more, they got something more that Raghunath Das Goswami had not explained in his pastimes. When the butter was added and it started growing, sure enough, it was not pearls, but Radharani, by her efforts and her love, gave quote unquote birth, or there was appearance of something that was never seen in the past, and that was gunja berries. When Krishna, through his milking, gave birth to a pearl tree, Radharani on the other side went one notch higher and she produced gunja berries. And this is why we say gunja berries means Srimati Radharani. This is why we always equate gunja berries with Srimati Radharani, because it was her love and effort that gave rise to gunja berries in the land of Vrindavan Dham. Yadi Radha na hoi to, gunja na hoi to. If Radharani was not there, there would have been no gunja. And that's how the Brajavasis conclude by saying the love and the efforts of Radharani was so high that Krishna loved it so much that till this date, Krishna wears a necklace of gunja. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and others explain that mala that Krishna wears, the gunja mala, it is called as Raga Valli. Raga means love and Valli means creeper. That necklace or that creeper which evokes feelings in the heart of Krishna for Srimati Radharani is Ragavalli. So Raghunath Das Goswami explains this in his book called as Mukta Charita. Very beautiful Braj pastime. So if not for our acharyas, these pastimes would have been lost of Vrindavan Dham. This is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasam. Na yoga siddhir na mamastu moksho vaikuntavasopi na pashvadattam prema pinasyat iti chetaram to mamastu vrindavana eva vasa. These ashtakams have a very strong meaning, very deep meaning. So if you remember at the start, we said these places were lost, and one such place is Malihari Kunda. This whole pastime took place of Srimati Radharani, etc. It took place in Malihari Kund. Malihari Kund, Mala basically here means a garland, and Hari means to steal. So Malihari basically means the garland stealer, and Kunda means the lake. This is one understanding. But in our story, Malihari Kund means that garland or that necklace of gunja berries that Krishna wears, and Hari steals the mind of Radharani, is Malihari Kund. Raghunath Das Goswami explains Malihari Kund. So if not for Das Goswami Pad, if not for Rupa and Sanatan, if not for Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there would be no Vrindavan Dham. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's greatest benediction that he has done for all of us by empowering Rupa and Sanatan to establish the lost pastime places of Vrindavan Dham. And we see very beautifully this Gunja berry reference we find even in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We see that in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Antilila, chapter 6, text 307, Kaviraj Goswami says, Shila diya gosai samar pila govardhane, Gunjamala diya dila radhika charane. By offering me the Govardhan Shila, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has offered me a place near Govardhan Hill, and by offering me the garland of Gunja seeds, he has offered me the shelter at the lotus feet of Radharani. Why Gunja seeds and Radharani? This is the history. This is the connection. So we see how Chaitanya Charitamrita connects to Mukta Charita. How one book connects to another book, connects to another book, connects to another book. And we see this point that Raghunath Das Goswami stayed with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the most. If there was anyone who lived with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the most, it was Sripad Raghunath Das Goswami. For 16 years, he was the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How many years did Rup Goswami stay? Maybe 10 months. How many years did Sanatan Goswami stay? Maybe 10 months. But Das Goswami stayed for 16 years as a personal servant. You see, sometimes in ISKCON, we have this complaint that we don't get association of our Guru Maharaj much, physical association. Because either Guru Maharaj is traveling or he is there in some geographical other location where we cannot go on a constant basis. But if you see Rupa Goswami, he himself hardly got the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only 10 months. Likewise, Sanatan Goswami. So even our acharyas have got limited association, but in the limited association, they have made the most out of it. So maturity is not that we crib around that, oh, I'm getting a little association. But maturity is when whatever association we get, we try to maximize it. We try to capitalize it. Wherever we are, we can hear the classes of our Gurudev and take his instruction and be in his association. That Sripad Raghunath Das Goswami, who was so dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world, it was almost as if he had become an orphan. Anath ho gaye the. Because he was there with Mahaprabhu for such a long time, and now Mahaprabhu wrapped up his pastimes and went back. He did not have anyone. Then he started taking shelter of Sripad Swarup Damodar Goswami. But then Swarup Damodar Goswami also departed this world. Then he would take shelter of Gadadhar Pandit. But then Gadadhar Pandit also left this world. And then finally we see that Raghunath Das Goswami, he had such a pain in his heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. Swarup Damodar Goswami left. Gadadhar Pandit left. He decided to walk to Vrindavan Dham. From Jagannath Puri, Sripad Raghunath Das Goswami walks to Vrindavan Dham. Why? क्योंकि अब नहीं रहना. चैतन्य महाप्रभु नहीं है, Gadadhar Pandit नहीं है, Swarup Damodar Goswami नहीं है. Better I climb on top of Giriraj ji and jump and commit suicide. He came all the way to Vrindavan to give up his life. But thankfully, he was intercepted by Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami saw Raghunath Das Goswami and asked him about his plans. And Raghunath Das Goswami says, Shunya hite mahagoshtam girindro ajgarayate vyagratundayate kundam jivato rahitasya me. Raghunath Das Goswami says, Shunya ite mahagoram. Oh, now everything has become void. Vrindavan has become void for me. Shunya ho gaya hai. Shunya ite mahagoram. Whole of Braj has become void. Shunya ite mahagoshtam girindro ajgarayate. And Giri, Govardhan Hill, has become ajgarayate. It's like a python. Vyagra tundayate kundam. Radhakund is almost like an open mouth of a tiger, he says. Jivatu rahitasya me. Now that everyone has departed, this whole land, I am feeling separation, Raghunath Das Goswami is saying. Nothing is making sense because Mahaprabhu is not there. Gadadhar is not there. Swarup Damodar is not there. What will I do staying alive? That is when Rupa Goswami tells him, did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give you something? Did he give you some instruction? And Raghunath Das Goswami says, instruction, I don't know. Yeah, he gave me something. Instruction, I don't know. He gave me something. He gave me Govardhan Shila and he gave me Gunjamala. Rupa Goswami says, this is Mahaprabhu's instruction for you. Govardhan Shila means Govardhan, which means he wants you to live in Govardhan. And Gunjamala means Srimati Radharani. Why Radharani? Because as we discussed. And what is the place in Govardhan which is the highest or which is closest to the heart of Radharani? It is Radhakund. Shri Radhakund Dham ki jai. Radhakund is the place in Govardhan which is the liquefied form of Srimati Radharani. So Rupa Goswami tells Raghunath Das Goswami that live in Radhakund and follow this instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das Goswami says, what should I do? Kya karu wahan baith ke? What should I do? And Rupa Goswami says, you have had the most association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sit in Radhakund and every day in the evening speak about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can you do this? Raghunath Das Goswami said, yes, this I can do. I have had so much association. I can easily speak about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without any notes, I can present because I have seen him day in and day out for 16 years. And Raghunath Das Goswami comes to Radhakund. Every day in the evening, he starts speaking Gaur Katha. In fact, that tree is still there in Radhakund. When we do Radhakund Parikrama, that tree is still there. जिसके नीचे बैठकर रघुनाथ दास गोस्वामी गौ कथा किए थे. When we go for Radhakund Parikrama, we can see that tree is still there. It has become immortal because it heard Gaur Katha and it became the recipient of Raghunath Das Goswami's Katha. So it became immortal. And as he was speaking Gaur Katha, in the audience was Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, very silently hearing what Raghunath Das Goswami is speaking. And every word that Das Goswami was speaking, Kaviraj Goswami was taking notes. And these notes are nothing but the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is nothing but the handwritten notes of Kaviraj Goswami that he heard from the live classes of Raghunath Das Goswami on the banks of Radhakund. Real time writing of whatever Raghunath Das Goswami is saying. That is Chaitanya Charitamrita. But what happens is we lose the seriousness when it gets printed. Imagine in our house, it is not printed and we have the handwritten notes of Kaviraj Goswami. How much we will appreciate that? If suppose we have handwritten notes of our Gurudev or Srila Prabhupada, we will laminate and keep it. That this letter was handwritten for me. Chaitanya Charitamrita is exactly similar. Handwritten notes of Kaviraj Goswami. But just because it is getting printed, we are losing the seriousness for it. But nonetheless, we find the origin of Gunjamala is explained by Raghunath Das Goswami. And this Gunjamala is also there in Raghunath Das Goswami's life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would also worship Govardhan with a Gunjamala. So that is why we find devotees also when they have Shaligram Shila or Govardhan Shila, they offer Gunjamala. And it's available in the land of Vrindavan. Or even Radharani and Krishna, they offer Gunjamala because it is very dear to them. So with this mood and with this prayer, I very humbly stop here with this one desire that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, Mamastu Vrinda Vana Eva Vasam. All that we are asking from the Supreme Lord is not things of this world. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitamba jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmani ishware. May lifetime after lifetime I serve devotees, and may lifetime after lifetime, if I have to take a birth, let me take that birth in the land of Vrindavan as Brajvasi. Braj tyaj ke main kahin nahi jaun, रसिक संतन के दर्शन पाऊं, जग से प्रीति हटाई, राधा नाम परम सुखदाई. We don't want anything. All that we want is we want to absorb and soak ourselves in this very transcendental holy place called as Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Srimati Radha Rani ki jai. वृषभानु नंदनी बरसाने वाली श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय. श्री श्याम सुंदर कृष्ण भगवान की जय. Srila Prabhupada, who gifted all of us, all of them to us, ki jai. Srila Gurudeva ki jai. Samasta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. His Grace Arjun Sakha Prabhu ki jai. Prabhuji, thank you so much. You have given such a nectarian class, very wonderful, by describing the pastimes from Chaitanya Charitamrita Raghunath Das, and to glorify the land of Vrindavan is really glorious, Prabhuji. So much thank you for it. As usual, you had really taken out our heart to go to Vrindavan now. We're ready to go to Vrindavan at this point. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Do you have a time to take some questions?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, Mataji, I will request, please take the questions from the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Arjun Sakha Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a very, very nectarian class. You cover all the points, Prabhuji, and learning so much, Prabhuji. So thank you so much. I request to everyone, if you have any question, any realizations from today's class, please just raise your hand and feel free to ask to Prabhuji. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. If anyone have any question, please just raise your hand. Devuti Mataji, please unmute yourself. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandava Pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful, wonderful class, Prabhu. I just heard half of them, so I'm going to listen again this class, but thank you so much. Prabhu, as you said, like in the Mukta Charitra, in the Sri Mukta Charitra, as Raghunath Das Goswami described that Paul's stating pastime. So, but at the result, after the Radharani, the fruit is come, the Gunja berry, it was a very nice come out from her effort. So why didn't Raghunath Das Goswami finish that part in the book? Like, why did he leave it unended? Like
That's a question that is there in my head also. So Madhavananda Prabhu, who's Gaur Govind Maharaj's disciple, if we see, there is the Krishna Katha magazine of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So in this we will find the Gunjamala history, and if we don't have it, we can purchase Krishna Kathamrit magazines. They come up with different magazines, I think once a month or once in 3 months, something like that, and they cover topics that are less heard and topics that are where we may have a question and we don't get an answer. They research a lot and then they come up with answers. So here, combined with Gaur Govind Maharaj's classes, the history of the origin of Gunjamala is there. So there also Madhavanand Prabhu writes a footnote that when he heard this pastime, even he had a doubt that how is Raghunath Das Goswami ending the pastime where Radhika is lost, apparently. So then he, it seems, researched for about good 6 months to 1 year. And then he met a Vrajavasi by the name Radha Dasi, whose husband is the pujari of our Kusum Sarovar temple. What is the temple? Shri Radha Van Bihari. Kusum Sarovar ke jo baju mein hai Shri Radha Van Bihari. So that Prabhuji's wife, Radha Dasi, so Madhavananda Prabhu met her. And she narrated this later part of the story. So she said that the Vrajavasis, it is a common tradition, Vrajavasis accept the fact that what came out was Gunjaberries. So it's still not there in Raghunath Das Goswami's work, but it's believed in the understanding in the eyes of the Vrajavasis. Because nowhere else do we find a history for Gunjaberries and why Gunjaberries have a connection with Radharani. So this is a Braj understanding and there is nothing to refute it. At the same time, there is no origin anywhere in any other book as to how Gunjaberries appeared. So even the Das Goswami ends it there. This question is there in my mind also. It is there in Madhavanand Prabhu's mind also. But I think only Das Goswami can answer why he ended the pastime there. But Vrajavasis take it one notch ahead and they said that what came out was the Gunjaberries. And it also logically makes sense because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always says Gunjaberries is close to Radharani. But what is the Praman and what is the history? So this is the only story that we find in the Shastra that kind of reconciles why Gunjaberries can be close to Srimati Radharani.
Thank you so much. Prabhu, can I ask another question?
हाँ पूछिए ना माताजी.
Okay. Just how the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's like जो सारे श्लोक है, it's like a काव्य के रूप में है, like how we say like in Bengali but काव्य. So when Raghunath Das Goswami speaking Gaur Katha and the Krishnadas Kaviraj ji was sitting in that Katha, so originally like Raghunath Das Goswami like speaking in that style, in that pattern too, like I'm just curious.
So he is called as Kaviraj. कवियों के समाज में राजा है. So my limited understanding is Das Goswami spoke normal katha and Kaviraj Goswami decorated that with his abilities and जो भी कथा सुने थे उसको poetry form में करके दुनिया को दिए because he is Kaviraj. Because prior to this so interestingly he had written before this, he had written Govinda Lilamrita. And when the Vaishnava Samaj saw that, Jiva Goswami gave the title of Kaviraj. Because so beautifully he has written Govinda Lilamrita, he was given Kaviraj. And then he writes Chaitanya Charitamrita. So among the Kavis, he is the king. So Das Goswami would have spoken normal Katha, but Kaviraj Goswami adds his abilities, his brilliance, and translates that into a poetry form.
Oh, very nice. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji. If anybody have any question, please raise your hands. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Okay, so Prabhuji, I think everybody's one more hand raised. Riya, please unmute yourself. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So in the Vrindavan Ashtakam that we started in, it said that the Vrindavan was only 3 yojanas wide. So is that talking about the Vrindavan on earth or the Vrindavan in the spiritual world?
3 yojanas wide in the translation.
Yeah.
Vrindavan of this world.
Okay.
Vrindavan of this world. Because Vrindavan of that world and this world are not different, but primarily Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the mode of a sadhaka is talking about Vrindavan of this world. But Bhauma Vrindavan, Bhauma means Bhumi, so this Vrindavan is called as Bhauma Vrindavan. So Bhauma Vrindavan and Golok Vrindavan no difference, because Krishna even till this date is dancing in Nidhivan. He's still till this date Radharani and Krishna are there and they're massaging the feet in Seva Kunj. Seva hoti hai wahan par bhi. So it is not different from Golok Vrindavan. Bhauma Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, no difference. It is the spiritual world. And we find that when we go to Vrindavan, we understand that there is something about that land that just inspires and transforms the heart completely that you probably don't find it anywhere. Vrindavan just transcendentally electrocutes you. And you have such surcharged, profound expression and feeling. So, no difference. Bhauma Vrindavan and spiritual world, no difference. But primarily here, it is Vrindavan of this world. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Akshay Prabhuji, please unmute yourself. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for all the Nectarian class. I wanted to ask this question that if like I have not completely read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, I just am listening to the Kathas. So do we have to complete both of them in order to hear Gaur Katha and other Vaishnav books for the Gaudiya Acharyas? Or can we listen to them?
Of course, as far as hierarchy is concerned, the understanding is Bhagavad Gita develops or it creates a philosophical base about the identity of the Supreme Lord. Ki Bhagavan kaun hai? Because sometimes the question can be asked and that why is Krishna God? When did Krishna become God? You see, people ask, when did Krishna become God? Can I become God? Until when is he God? Does God change? Multiple gods, demigods? These are philosophical questions which gets answered in Bhagavad Gita. Punya, karma, mrityu ke baad kahan jate hain? If someone is 20 years old, where was he 25 years in the past? These fundamental questions Bhagavad Gita answers. When this is answered, then we form a base. Now when Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes are explained, or when we hear, we don't doubt Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. When Krishna lies, when Krishna steals, otherwise the thought can be there that he lies, it is okay. I lie, it's a problem. He steals, it is okay. I steal, it is a problem. He cheats, it is okay. I cheat, it is a problem. Kabhi-kabhi man mein prashna uthta hai. Because this should not arise, Bhagavad Gita forms the basis to help us understand the identity of Krishna. Once that is done, we can now easily accept and understand Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. And where Gita ends is where Bhagavatam starts. Where Bhagavatam ends is where Chaitanya Charitamrita starts. All three are connected. Now, as far as the question is concerned, can we hear? We can definitely hear. There is no doubt. We can hear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So many pastimes in Nadiya, pastimes in the Madhya Leela where he's traveling, Jagai, Madha, etc. We can definitely hear, take inspiration. But the reason why Chaitanya Charitamrita is said that it should be a postdoc study is there were 3 unfulfilled desires of Krishna Leela, which Krishna couldn't fulfill. To fulfill that, he comes as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So what are the unfulfilled desires and what Krishna couldn't fulfill, etc. To understand this, one should first read Bhagavatam. Then Chaitanya Charitamrita will make sense. So stories we can understand. But as far as why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming down, why he has to taste the mood of Radharani, to understand this, Bhagavatam is the prerequisite. But to understand Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is the prerequisite. And even to understand Bhagavad Gita, if you go to Radheshyam Prabhu's website, there is a nice list of which books to start first. If someone is a newcomer and कुछ भी book पढ़े नहीं है, तो कौन से book से शुरुआत करनी है? And Radheshyam Prabhu, out of his experience, he has given a list. And he suggests the first book can be Science of Self-Realization. Starting with the smaller books of Prabhupada, then transitioning to Bhagavad Gita, then transitioning to Bhagavatam, and then finally to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So pastimes we can hear, but we may not necessarily understand the philosophical truths behind Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance and his desire to taste the mood of Radharani. Does that make sense, Prabhuji?
अक्षय प्रभु जी आप अनम्यूट करें, हरि बोल।
Yes, Prabhuji, it definitely makes sense. And can you again tell the website? I will check the list and follow the order.
Radheshyam Prabhu's website, I don't have it off my head. Maybe you can just Google Radheshyam
What can I
Prabhu's
search?
Radheshyam Prabhu's website, something like that, and it will come up.
Okay, thanks a lot, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sahana Mataji, can you please unmute yourself?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. As a student, how to balance the spiritual life and the student life such like we can be a devotee?
Very practical, very fundamental question. Of course, as a student, education is very important. We in Krishna consciousness, we don't propagate this philosophy that padai nahi karni hai. Even though sometimes you may say that it is mentioned that, well, if everything is Krishna consciousness, kyun padai karni hai? Agar if studies of this world are completely useless, why to study? Let me just study Bhagavatam. But this was not Prabhupada's mode. Prabhupada emphasized education very heavily. In fact, we see that when Shripad Bhaktiswarup Damodar Maharaj, when he met Prabhupada in the initial days, he was doing his PhD from Irvine, California. And in the second year, he met Srila Prabhupada. And once he was convinced, he told Prabhupada that if this is everything, I can leave my PhD and I can join you full time. And when Prabhupada heard that, Prabhupada said, no, education is important. Why? Because the next age is the age of scientific. It's a scientific era. And if someone is educated and qualified, then people will listen to him. यदि अगर पढ़ाई वढ़ाई नहीं है, कुछ किए नहीं है, तो कितना भी हम कथा दे, कोई श्रवण नहीं करेगा. We see Gauranga Prabhu, Radheshyam Prabhu, etc. People respect because there is IIT next to the name. That degree is very important. Even though reality may be such that we may not use that education, but in order for preaching, we study. So, padai mein compromise nahi hona chahiye. That is point number one, whatever it is. As far as balancing studies and our spirituality is concerned, as much time as possible, we have to make sure that our grades don't go down. Studies is number one. Bhakti, when we're studying the bhakti aspect, we can just limit or restrict that to our chanting. Whatever number of rounds that we are doing, we can chant. That's point number one. It can be either all 16 in the morning, or I'm just giving an example. If we are doing 16, then it can be 8 in the morning, 8 in the evening. Or if we are chanting 8, it can be 4 in the morning, 4 in the evening. You decide on the schedule. You know your schedule. You decide on the schedule when you have time. Either you split it or chant it in one go. Whatever it is, you decide on the schedule. Because what works for a 35-year-old as a working professional will not work for you as a student. So you know your schedule. You decide when you want to chant. Point number one. Point number 2, when you are studying, try to add spirituality in it. Like for example, if suppose there is a 5-point answer, एक क्वेश्चन है और हम पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं और उसका 5 पॉइंट है, 5 sentences are there and you want to remember. One way of understanding is we by heart everything, सब by heart करते हैं और एग्जाम में जाके वही लिखते हैं. This is one understanding. Another way of studying, which I remember I would do and my brother would also do, is if there are 5 points, you can make an acronym. Like you can make a spiritual acronym, GAURA, Gaura. And 5 points can be G say there can be 1 sentence, A say there can be 1 sentence, U say there can be 1 sentence, R say there can be 1 sentence, and A say there can be another sentence. Gaura acronym. So bhakti is there. You're bringing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into your studies. At the same time, you're remembering your answer. So whenever you're studying, try to make acronyms easier to remember, and best try to have acronyms that are in connection with Krishna or the Krishna conscious movement. GAURA, RADHA, KRSNA, NITAI. हो गया, 5 पॉइंट का आंसर तो तैयार है, इधर ही तैयार है. You can easily do that. So once you get into that habit, the mind starts working, and for everything you will make acronyms. So in studies also, if we are studying, then we can think, अरे उसका आंसर राधा, इसका आंसर कृष्णा, इसका आंसर गौरा, इसका आंसर निताय. You're doing bhakti, you're remembering answer also, 2 in 1. So that is something that you can do. So whatever chanting you're doing, you can split it up according to whatever your schedule is. Second, while studying, start making acronyms. Get into this habit of making acronyms and try to have devotional acronyms. So your mind will work as far as devotional thing is concerned, and you're also studying. So padai or bhakti साथ में हो रही है. If you're studying for about good 3-4 hours, you're also doing 3-4 hours of bhakti because you're remembering Krishna or Gaura or others. It's a good meditation. And after this, if you have time, if there is any amount of time that is left, then at least 15 minutes we can do some hearing. Either it can be a live Zoom class, or someone, if someone is coming to the congregation, it can be an in-person class, or we can go to ISKCON Desire and hear at least 15 minutes if we have time. If you do not, that is completely fine. But education is number 1. We don't compromise on the grades. We don't compromise on that. And this was Prabhupada's mood. This was always Prabhupada's mood. So to summarize, don't compromise on your education. Second, while studying, make devotional acronyms like Krishna, Gaura, Nitai, Radha, etc. And third, whatever chanting you're doing, try to split it. If you're doing 16, you can do 8 little in the morning and 8 in the evening. Or if you're chanting 10, 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening, or morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever it is, you split. With adults, we encourage Brahma Muhurta, but with those who are studying, we have to be a little practical. Education is first. We may have assignments. I don't know whether you're studying in India or America, but we will have assignments, projects, deadlines, etc. That should not hamper. So make sure whatever schedule is there, you chant little in the morning, little in the afternoon, little in the evening, and little in the night. Make sure your chanting is going on and your devotional study is going on. And finally, whatever time is left over, if you can 15-20 minutes, if you can hear, that will be more than enough. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, there is no more questions. If you allow, can we wind up our call here?
Yes, Mataji, we can.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Vanchakal tarupasya kripa sindhubhe vacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Arjun Sakha Prabhuji ki jai, all devotees ki jai. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Once again, please come thoroughly, Prabhuji, again and again. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.